All right, class, now that you're in your groups, notice that I have placed 6 laminated pictures on the middle of your tables. There's a picture of the Statue of Liberty. There's a piece of cracked concrete, the Grand Canyon, a photo of our beaches, a boulder that has been split in half, and another big rock that has a hole missing in it. I want you to take a few minutes with your group and try to discuss some ways that you think these photos can be grouped together. For example, think about the characteristics that you see similar in them. All right, now that we have discussed some of the ways your groups decided to categorize or group these photos, let's talk about the way that they should be grouped. So in order to do this, I need to introduce you to 2 terms. One of them is weathering, and the other one is erosion. Weathering is when the rock has been broken down into smaller rocks or sediments. The other term, erosion, is the process of transferring those sediments somewhere else. Weathering is very, very difficult to capture or notice as it's occurring because it takes a very long time for this process to happen or to be completed. Therefore, it leads us to have a misconception that the earth is stable and unchanging, that it never changes. However, we can see the effects of erosion, and that's what lets us know that our misconception about weathering is just a misconception. Weathering proves that Earth does change. So I want to go through each picture and categorize them as either weathering or erosion. This is going to help us become more familiar with the 2 terms, as well as really understand what they mean. So let's start with the rock that has a giant hole in it, okay? This is an example of erosion because the rock has been weathered by the waves, and then it has been transferred somewhere else, permanently leaving a hole inside of this rock. Now, the rock that has been split in half. This is an example of weathering, okay? The rock has been broken down into a smaller piece. However, it has not been transported anywhere. It has stayed there. Therefore, this is still an example of weathering. Now, the Grand Canyon. This is an example of erosion. These big rocks have been weathered over thousands and thousands of years by wind and water, and they have been eroded somewhere else, leaving these really cool ridges. So this is an example of erosion. So we're going to put that with the other big rock. Now, let's talk about a picture that is very familiar to us, a photo of our beaches. Yeah, that's probably in Destin or Pensacola. What do you notice in this picture? Do you see how this sand is lower than this sand here? So this is an example of erosion. These waves have come up to the shore multiple times and eroded this sand into the water, leaving a higher area here and a lower here, okay? So all of this used to be level, but the water has eroded this sand and made it uneven with this up here. So this is erosion. Now, the cracked concrete. Do you see these small pieces of rock here? That is the sediment. So this rock has been broken down into other sediments. However, it doesn't look like it's been transferred yet. Therefore, it is an example of weathering. And lastly, we have the photo of the Statue of Liberty. Now, many of you might not know, but this statue is actually made of copper. So, how many of you know what color a penny is? Good. It's very brown goldy bronze. We call it bronze. This statue was once that color. However, being outside and has made it exposed to different chemicals in the air and has turned it green, all right? This is a special type of weathering called chemical weathering, all right? The chemical formation of the Statue of Liberty has changed its color due to the chemicals it was exposed to. So it's being broken down on a chemical level, which causes it to change the color. However, it's not being transferred anywhere. Therefore, it is a sign of weathering. Now that we understand these differences between weathering and erosion, we are going to try to model the processes of weathering and erosion right here in our classroom.